There we go. Hello and welcome back to Tucking It Up. My name is Tuck and I like to play around with makeup. For today's look, I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I usually do. You might call me a bit of a maximalist, I think, when it comes to makeup. Like, I just like using a lot of products, and I, just like playing around. But for today, I wanted to try and do something that was much more constrained, much more, if you will, minimalist. And so today's look, I'm going to just use a total of 5 products, and let's see what I can come up with. The reason I got the idea to do this sort of look is there's twofold. The first is that with vaccinations kind of for COVID-19 rolling out more widely, I can see a tiny glimmer of hope that, maybe soon things will be a little bit more open and we'll be able to travel again. I am limiting myself to, just like 5 products because in my mind I'm like, imagining, okay, if I travel again and like I only have so much space, right, and I don't have very much time and I don't want to be bothered with things that are too complicated, what's the sort of like bare minimum. And then the other reason is I picked up 2 new products. The first is the Vision Flush from Danessa Myricks, and I got the shade Ballet Slippers. And then the other thing that I picked up recently was the Artist Color Pencil from Makeup Forever, and in this I got the shade Wherever Walnut. Both of these are multi-use products, right? Like there's you look at them and you might think primarily, okay, the Vision Flush is for your cheeks, and then the Color Pencil is probably like eyeliner, lip liner, but I'm gonna try and use both of them in sort of other ways beyond that. Ballet Slippers is this lovely peach sort of shade. I think it's quite popular, and I can see why. It looks very flattering, and I think it'll work on a lot of different skin tones. The Wherever Walnut pencil, it's this kind of pinky brownie shade. Instead of having to have a separate contour and bronzer, I can just use this to give my face a little bit of color and a little bit more structure. Let me go over the restrictions for today's challenge. So in terms of brushes, we're just going to do 4. We're going to have a face brush. This will, could be good for application and blending. This is a Real Techniques complexion brush. And then I want to bring along a blending brush that can also be like a crease brush. I will bring along like a little shader brush, and this is to smudge out mainly the eyeliner and also apply some shadow. And then finally, just in case I have to do any detail work, let's bring along a pencil brush. And then in terms of actual makeup products, Bare Minerals foundation, this Makeup Forever Walnut pencil, Vision Flush a brow pencil. I'm in the shade Ebony, and this is from Sephora. And then finally, I'm just bringing along a single eyeshadow, Pale Fire from McGrath. So let's go ahead and get started with the foundation. I'm gonna try and keep things quite natural and quite lightweight today. After loading up my brush and tapping off the excess, I'm going to just lightly pat the brush in the center of my face. This is to concentrate the product. I'm going to sort of distribute it towards the edges of my face. And so kind of the reason this works is, you give off the impression that your skin is, I guess, more even in tone than it is, because most of the time people are staring at you front on, and so because of that, if the center of your face looks good, the rest of it will as well. I think it's time to add a little bit of color and structure back to my face, and for that I'm going to use the pencil. I won't need to do very much of it because of course I didn't put too much foundation down, so my skin is not like, this is pretty sheer foundation anyway, but so my skin is not like super flat. I'm going to start by applying like a crosshatch pattern at my temples and then along my hairline. I will buff this out with the same brush I was using for my foundation. This kind of just helped everything marry and just look a little bit more natural. I'm going to apply some of the pencil underneath my cheekbone. Just going to buff it out, blend it in with that same foundation brush. I'm going to do this, just apply a tiny bit along my nose, nothing very dramatic, just to give my face a little bit more structure and a little bit of color. Now I'm going to go in with Vision Flush for blusher. After putting some of the product on the back of my hand, I'm just going to use my fingers to lightly dot it on my cheeks and blend it out. I'm also bringing the color into the temples, along the hairline, and along the jawline just a tiny bit to kind of marry the whole face together, give myself a bit more of a sun-kissed look. And then I'm also going to apply a very sheer amount of product just across the bridge of my nose, again, just to be like, hey, look, I'm on holiday, I've gotten some sun, that kind of idea. And then to marry everything, I'm going to just go over my entire face with the brush I use for foundation. There's no product on it right now, I've wiped it off. Let's go ahead and start on the brows. Let's keep it really light. Yeah, it's so different from how I usually do it. But let's keep it kind of natural and easy today. I'm going to first draw and fill in against the grain of the brow, and then I'm going to just use like hair-like strokes to blend everything together and finish everything off. I'm just going to comb with the spoolie. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the eyes. So the plan for today is I'm going to take that walnut pencil and kind of use that as my primary color, primary shadow. I'm going to use the Pale Fire shade from McGrath just to set everything because I have very oily eyelids. And speaking of very oily eyelids, I'm going to start priming my eyes with the foundation that I used earlier, just a tiny bit of it on a buffing brush. I start by concentrating the color along the lash line, and as you can see, I'm doing a pretty thick line because I'm going to blend it all out, and this pencil blends really easily. And then I'm also extending the color just a little bit past the outside of my eye. And then using first a flat shader brush, I'm going to just blend out the color, diffuse any harsh edges, go in with a pencil brush next, do kind of a little bit more detail work, layer on a little bit more pencil where I would like the color to be more intense, where I would like a little bit more depth, blend again, alternating between a pencil brush as well as my blending / crease brush. Okay, I think that's good enough for the base on the upper lid. Now I'm going to go in and start on the lower lash line. I start by concentrating the color on the outer corner, and then I just kind of draw in about 2/3 of the way. And then I'm going to take a pencil brush, blend out the edges, and then also blend the lower lash line color into what's going on the upper portion of my eye. Okay, so yeah, I think that's kind of good. It's very subtle, of course, but I think, for something like this, I don't want to go like too dramatic anyway. Okay, so just to give a little bit more interest to the eyes and to help set this pencil, I am going to go in with the shade Pale Fire from McGrath. I'm going to start by taking the shade on a pencil brush, so I'm going to concentrate on the inner corner and then also going to apply some on the lower lash line, just in the very inner part of my eye. And then to spread it all over my lid, I'm going to take a packer brush and start blending the Pale Fire into the darker parts of the pencil. And finally, I'm going to blend out the edges of Pale Fire and marry the pencil and the eyeshadow together a little bit more, especially along the lower lash line. Okay, so let's go and tightline. So my filming set, usually I cannot tightline on camera because of my filming setup, but I changed it around a little bit today, so I'm going to try and attempt to do that. And to tightline, I'm just going to use the one pencil that I restricted myself to today. I always start my tightlining with the lower lash line, or lower waterline I should say, and I always go outer corner to inner, just kind of do that a few times to get the color on there. Because this is not a long wearing pencil, I'm a little bit concerned about how long it lasts, but that's a thing for another day. And for the upper lash line, upper waterline, what I'm going to do is, because I can't quite pull up my eyelid, I just kind of bring the eyelid lower and then just run the pencil along that as best I can, and I think it works actually pretty well for me. I'm now going to take the pencil and run it along just close to the lash line, along my upper lash line, just to give everything a little bit more depth and just to finish everything off. Let's finish off with the lips. As you can probably guess, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the lips with that walnut shade, and then I'm going to apply some color to it using Vision Flush. I'm going to be quite soft with the liner today, so just going to correct any asymmetries, not create too harsh of a line, but I will overdraw just a tiny bit on the right side for my upper lip, and then on the left side for my lower lip, just to balance everything out. To add color, I'm going to take Vision Flush, put it on the back of my hand, and then dot it onto my lips with my finger. I'm going to concentrate the color mainly in the center of the lip and then blend it outwards. And finally, just to add a tiny bit of dimension, I'm going to take the pencil and darken up the corners of my mouth just a tiny bit. So as usual, let me conclude by giving you a quick tour. While this is much softer and much more subtle than I usually go for, I'm actually quite happy with it, and I think for given the restraints that I had, right, just the small number of products, and also the idea okay, this is going to be for traveling during, while I'm traveling sort of look, I think this is perfect because it was fast, it was easy, and this would allow me to, if I want to feel just a little bit more put together, great. But then it doesn't take up too much time, and so I get to experience the place, see the people, and most importantly, eat the food. And then in terms of the two, new products that I'm trying today, really happy with both of them. The pencil, the artist pencil from Makeup Forever, the color was beautiful, blended out so easily. I'm probably going to get more of these just so I can play around with them and see what I can achieve. And as for the Vision Flush, again, I would say this was another winner. Usually I shy away from shades like Ballet Slippers, which I feel are they're too conventional. But this was really lovely, really easy to work with. And it looks so great, sheared out on my cheeks, but also more concentrated on my lips. And I find it can be difficult to get products or to find products that work well, on two ends of the spectrum. So thank you so much for joining me today. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and until next time, bye!